As attorneys, you understand the importance of evidence in building a case. Today, we're going to apply that same analytical mindset to your marketing efforts. With 85 law firms trusting us with their growth, we've developed a systematic approach that is going to help you measure your success and cut through the noise and really focus on whether or not you're getting a true ROI. Welcome to the Optimized Law Firm Podcast. I am your host, Patrick Carver. Super happy to have you join, and I really appreciate you taking a moment out of your busy day to listen to this podcast. What we're going to cover today is the episode is called From Guesswork to Guaranteed. We're going to look at measuring your legal marketing success, and I think this is a really impactful one that doesn't really get enough time and energy focused from lawyers, in my opinion. So this has been a key part of our success. Last year we had a 98.7 retention rate, and I strongly believe that a piece of that was our insistence on looking at ROI every single month, showing our lawyers what they're getting out of their investment in marketing, so that it's not this ambiguous, strenuous relationship between you and your marketing provider. I'm going to show you how to do it, so let's get started. All right, so kicking this off, why do you want to measure this, and why is this an important thing as an attorney? So there's a couple of reasons why this is such a high stakes issue, and why I think it's essential, and one of those things that doesn't get nearly enough attention in the whole scheme of marketing, right? So much, I think, of the focus is like shiny object syndrome. People, kind of bouncing from one thing to the next, always looking at, kind of what's the new thing, what can I do? And I see it a lot. They bounce around from like video marketing to SEO to ads to different stuff. And what I chronically see is that they don't have a good layer or a good understanding of how to actually assess the success. So some of the negative effects of this that you have probably seen or experienced, or are possible. Number one, you're basically flying blind, right? So you are every month paying thousands of dollars, and you don't really have a good measurement of success. And so at the end of the month, or just in your relationship with your marketing company, you feel frustrated, like you don't have the right information, and that you're basically paying money without any real way to know if it's working. And so you're essentially trusting the marketing company, and that often ends poorly from my experience. And for me, this is like the number one reason lawyers hate marketing companies, is because this disconnect in the investment towards the output, the end of that being the return on investment. So beyond just having this dissatisfaction between you and your marketing provider, always feeling lack of confidence and frustration, there's a couple of other reasons why this is something that you want to avoid. Number one thing is wasted budget. So depending on your practice area, the lead cost can go from anywhere from like $25 to over $300. PI is, even further. And if you're in really anywhere, it doesn't really matter what city you're in, the cost of those leads are going to be enormous. So I don't have to tell you, if you're in the PI space and you've done any marketing, how cutthroat it is and how expensive it is to get those leads. But even in other areas where it's cheaper, like maybe immigration or bankruptcy, something like that, we're still talking real money, right? And you want to know if how much you're paying per lead. And so if you don't have a good, reliable system to see where your clients are coming from, how they're getting attributed to you, and ultimately which channels or which efforts are producing an ROI, it just all ends up getting into this big wash, and like you have no idea which one's actually working, which one's not working, and that is going to lead you to waste money and ultimately not scale the efforts that are working or keep you doing the efforts that are not working. So if it's so important, why isn't everybody doing it? In my experience, there's a few common pitfalls that stop this from happening. I think we see a whole big spectrum of different people in terms of how much they do this, and it tends to correlate with like business sophistication, right? And the longer you're in running your firm, the more time and energy you put into this, where at the beginning of your firm, it's you're not as concerned, and you're just as long as there's like cases coming in and money in the bank, you feel good about it. But then as you start to invest more and thinking about ways to scale, you want to be more strategic about this and use that analytical mindset that you bring to the courtroom. So a couple of things that I think get in the way of lawyers doing this. Number one, a focus on vanity metrics. So for me, this is the classic case is one of the big box marketing companies out there, and I won't name names, but it rhymes with Schmeindlaw. They're going to give you a report typically, but this is common with all sorts of other marketing agencies. They're going to give you a report, and it is largely going to be self-serving. They are going to put the things in there that look good, and I don't think a lot of the time it's like directly manipulative, or like they're trying to necessarily pull one over on you. But they're gonna, the easier things to track are things like likes, followers, page views, traffic, even top-end leads, right? And that's better. Having leads is better, but ultimately it doesn't get you where you want to go. And so these kind of seduce you into thinking that your performance is better than it might be. And you kind of get into this situation where you're like, am I crazy? Because I get this report every month that says I'm doing amazing, but the reality is I'm still getting the same 5 cases a month that I got before I hired this marketing company. So that really is what fractures the relationship, in my opinion, with law firms and marketing companies. So that's a big one. I would also say creating the quote perfect system, and I see owners getting into this occasionally, and what they're trying to do is have perfect attribution for every single lead that comes in. And in my experience, that's basically impossible. So we have what I would consider a best-in-class approach, and we're using what converts. We have data down to every single lead, and so for me, that is really, really valuable, where we can tell the source and the medium for every single lead. We know if it's coming from ads, is it PPC, is it LSA, so on and so on. That being said, there are limitations to this software or CallRail, because not really worth getting into in this specific episode, but they run on cookies, and they are not precise. And so factors like, are you using first click attribution or last click attribution? How good is that software? Even if the software is good and we feel like our choice is the best choice in the market, like the most accurate, we still find examples that are demonstrably incorrect, where someone has come onto the website, they found us through Google or something like that, and yet it's showing that the source was from somewhere else. So lawyers can get into this trap of trying to drill down and get details on every single lead, and so they end up going on like a goose chase trying to find out all of it. And so my biggest piece of advice here to think about is, you want to think about solving for as much as you can, but understanding that it's not going to be perfect, right? So you want to get this data and use it to guide your efforts, but at the end of the day, don't worry about it being 100% perfect, because literally you cannot get it there. It's just not possible in my mind. The other piece of this that I would steer clear of is overanalysis of some of the measurement metrics. I believe there is a limit to the usefulness of the amount of to the data that you're going to get. Now, it gets more valuable as your lead volume goes up, but I often see people who are getting like 50 leads a month, or 25 or something like that, and they're spending hours each month trying to dissect like why we got 10 leads from SEO one month and then 12 leads the next month. And for me, that's like basically overkill. That's more something that would be done or should be done by the marketing agency, and not so much the attorney, because numbers like that, there's just really like it's not enough to be statistically significant. And so sometimes we have these conversations where it's like, well, our leads went from 10 to 13 to 12 to 15. What's the reason for that fluctuation? And I want to know why it went up and down each month. And like the answer is that's just within the level of statistical significance. So there really just may not be like a lot of reasoning for it, and so it's for me a fool's errand to try and go lead a ton of analysis. Now, as you get more of those leads, then it becomes more and more important, because you can actually see trends, right? And if we zoom out, the bigger picture for all of this is like, you want to make good decisions with your money, with your investment, and point your marketing in the right direction. You don't need to know the nuance in between small little ups and downs like that. You basically want to see the bigger trends. That's where you're going to get the most value, and most value on your time and most value on your money. And then the last big mistake I see here is that the data never gets connected to the business outcomes. And so that's basically an extension of what I just said, which is that if you spend all your time kind of nitpicking like those minutia parts of it, you are never going to then connect that data to your overall business data, right? And so I've had this experience where we spend so much time going through and trying to pinpoint where the ROI is, that by the time we get to the end of it and we actually have our conclusions where one channel is like significantly outperforming the other, it's like that data never gets acted on. And we can see that one channel is producing more clients at a lower cost per acquisition, and yet that never gets acted on, because it's like everybody's burnt out from going through this whole exercise of trying to attribute where those folks came from. All right, so let's talk key performance indicators, what those are, and how you're going to set it up, and then we'll follow that up with a practical way to implement this no matter where you are in the life cycle of your law firm. So the first thing that I always focus on with our clients is going to be ROI by channel. So I like to start big and broad here, and then we're going to go into a little bit of a deeper detail with SEO and ads and other channels. The basic framework here that we're going to follow is we want to know what the cost per acquisition is for leads and ultimately customers in that channel. We want to know, what the volume is in that channel, and then what the quality is in that channel. Those three things are going to really give us the best insight as to whether this is a winner or a loser in terms of marketing. So with a customer acquisition cost, what does that mean to me? Basically the cost, the total cost of the marketing, right? So if you're paying a marketing company, it's going to be some of the service cost, and then it's going to be, if you're doing ads, right, it's going to be that ad cost. If it's just SEO, you're just going to affix the portion of the service cost that's roughly equivalent to the SEO efforts. And so then in the end, you're going to look at your clients, right, that came from those channels, how much value, monetary value came in from those, and then compare that to what you spent on the channel. And that's how, we derive return on investment. And we can also look, we can also figure out a multiple of that. So, your multiple for SEO is 10x or it's 5x or 2x. We want to know the quality and volume of those. And so that's going to go into whether or not, this is like how valuable this channel is, because we might get a false read on this because if we do a report and then at the end we determine that SEO brought us 5 cases and $10,000 each. Well, we only spent $200 on SEO, and we got $50,000 or something like that in coming back to us. All right, so after we've established the customer acquisition cost, we then want to figure out, is this significant? Can we scale it? Are we at our ceiling, etc.? And that's going to give us much better insight as to whether we want to double down on this or reduce it, etc. We want to understand the quality of those leads and also the volume. So with volume, we want to know how many leads it actually took to get the customer acquisition cost. And so the point here is that your customer acquisition cost for a channel may look great, but if you only had one client come through there, it may not really be scalable, or it may be something that isn't repeatable over and over. And so you kind of get this like false positive that a channel, looking at like, oh, the customer acquisition cost is amazing. So a great example of this is referral marketing, right? Really doesn't cost anything, just you building and maintaining relationships. And so yes, there is a tremendous ROI on that, but in this context, you're looking for things that are scalable, that can compound, and you can put $1 in and get more out and grow it. Can't really do that with referral marketing. You can to some extent, but not really in a great way. You also want to look at it from quality, right? You might have good CAC, good customer acquisition cost, but maybe the quality of these clients is really bad. Maybe it's those people are only paying $1,000 per month, and you're getting a higher percentage of high-paying clients from another channel. So even though like your customer acquisition cost may be better in one, it may be better to scale another one. So factor all of this in, because it's not a clear-cut like yes or no. We're gonna drive our decision making by customer acquisition cost per channel. So I like to look at it more in this holistic way, because I think it makes sense, and it actually then is connecting business data to business outcomes, and you're going to get really the best performance by doing it this way. So let's take a couple minutes to wrap the metrics part of this discussion, going through SEO, ads, and some other channels. So SEO metrics, I would, for the most lawyers, I would just say don't even really focus on them that much, or focus on them to the extent of how many leads is it producing, how much business is it actually producing, and doing that is better than nothing, or trying to become an SEO expert, because this would fall under over scrutinizing details and kind of losing track of the big picture, which is basically, is this marketing company bringing me new business that's attributable to their work? But for the sake of argument, let's talk SEO metrics. So I always think about this as like an upside down pyramid, or like a funnel. And so at the top of that funnel are going to be keywords. Am I ranking, am I visible on the internet for phrases and keywords that I want to be found for? particularly of high value, are the ones on the first page, because if you are not on the first page, you're basically not getting found. So I focus on how many attorney or lawyer keywords, high intent keywords where people are actually searching for an attorney and not just background information on a law or something. How many of those do you have? Then as we go one step down, we're looking at how much traffic those generate. And so you can, Google Analytics, you can look at how much organic traffic you're generating from search engines. Finally, you're looking at the number of leads that the SEO traffic produced. This is going to be the best pure look at how your SEO is performing, but I would really focus on the number of leads coming in. And ultimately, you can then look at cost per lead, because generally what we see is that SEO is going to be better on a cost per lead basis than ads or other methods. So on the ads, it's a little bit different. The things we focus on there at the top are going to be lead volume. We do look at like cost per click and other stuff like that, but that's, you know, kind of getting into the weeds and more something that a marketing person, advertising strategist is going to scrutinize, that I don't really think lawyers need to get into. Then below that, we're looking at cost per lead, and then finally we are looking at conversion rate. And so that's going to tell us how much we're having to pay to get that lead, ultimately that client to you. And then conversion rate is valuable too, because that's going to allow us to know, is the landing page working? Do we have the right kind of copy? Are our lawyers actually following up and providing a good intake experience and doing a good job of closing? Those are really important, because that's just going to improve the value out of those ads. And then when it comes to other channels, like let's say directories, billboards, social ads, organic social, any of that stuff, it's really the same framework, right? Like we ultimately know how much we're paying for it, how many leads it produced, and then ultimately how many clients it got us. And if you know the value of those clients, if that's $10,000, $20,000, you then compare that to what you spent on that channel, you're going to be able to know what your cost per acquisition is per channel, and that's when really the magic happens. And you can see, okay, SEO, I'm getting clients for $200 a piece. On Schmein's-Law, I'm getting them for $1,000 a piece, and so on. This is where you can then connect that data back to your business outcomes and see which one has the best value, and work with your marketing provider to figure out which of those are most scalable and which ones have you reached the ceiling on them or not. All right, let's dig into the final section of this podcast, and we're going to talk about a practical ROI analysis framework. So a lot of $10 words there, but really the whole point of this is like, how can you actually implement this and not go crazy trying to set it all up and do it. I talk about it like that because it's a complex topic. It's super complex from a technical standpoint, because you have to organize a handful of software tools. No offense, but the average lawyer is not super technically savvy. But I mean, just straight up, it's challenging for people who are very tech savvy, because we spent almost a year testing a handful of providers and configuring it to get it where we wanted, where we feel really confident about those that data coming in off of these leads. And so now I think we have really a best-in-class experience across the spectrum of law firm marketing agencies. So the first thing is we want to set up your measurement infrastructure. The gold standard for me is going to be a software called What Converts. CallRail is also sufficient. There's other ones out there that you can apply, and something is better than nothing, but I would recommend What Converts. We have found it to be more accurate than the other tools that are out there and on the market. But at the end of the day, getting something is better than nothing, and a basic Google Sheet or within your CRM, having a field attached to a lead coming in and writing down where that lead came from is going to be super helpful. And so outside of having like a technical solution to solve this, you just want to get in the habit and train your intake team to always be asking, hey, how did you hear about us? And writing that down. And that's, kind of that two checkpoint system is going to be the best, because like I said at the beginning, this stuff's never 100% perfect. And so you are going to get people who say, oh, I found you on Google. Well, that could be ads, it could be LSA, it could be a variety of things. And so you want to just do your best to try and get as much data as you can, but again, don't go nuts trying to do this. So you want to get just something down, some sort of process in place, and start with a Google Sheet, whatever, and then make it more complex as you go, putting it into CRM. So we're at the point now where we have this software and we can actually use systems to send that data directly in and tie it to the lead within the CRM system. So it's, we have a very advanced approach, in my opinion, but it saves law firms a lot of time and reduces some of that need to track every single lead. So we're giving them a ton of data, and then you can utilize that data in like your reporting, your CRM reporting and stuff like that. But just get something started. I recommend doing this for all leads, right? Because that's going to give you the best view on what's working, what's not working, high quality, low quality, all that sort of thing. All right, so once you have that set up, we want to move on to number 2, which is the ROI calculation process. And I think you've probably figured it out by now from how I measure this, with what I've talked about earlier. But just to kind of go over it again, you want to figure out what your marketing costs are, right? So your marketing cost, whether that's the service fee to the agency, the ads, if you're doing direct mail, whatever. You have a cost for that. You know this, right? And so you then want to compare your monthly cost for that versus the number of leads that came in from that, and then ultimately the number of clients from that. That's universal. You can do that whether it's SEO, ads, any other channel. So the good news is that part is extremely simple, and you just, you can figure that out really, really easy. Now, the thing I will warn you about, especially with the CRM, is that the phrase that most often gets tossed around with CRMs is garbage in, garbage out, and this is 100% true. If you do not have the data automatically syncing to the CRM, or your intake person is doing it, asking where they came from 50% of the time, like, all of this goes out the window, right? And so beyond any technical solution, I would favor you using like a Google Sheet and doing it, in a caveman approach, if you can get it done all the time, right? And you spend more of your time on the execution side, because that's really what's going to make or break this in the long run. And setting those standards is, I think, essential to getting the best results and getting as much value out of this as possible. The final part of this, number 3, is going to be your implementation steps, right? And so we have our sheet, or we have our CRM, we have our tracking software, then we've got like our process for doing that reconciliation. Final part is going to be doing this, setting up a monthly reconciliation, where you then go and take your data, your lead data, and compare that to your cost data. Then you have the big picture. I highly, highly recommend set up a calendar event, a recurring calendar event for yourself, to go in and do this on like the 1st or 2nd of every single month. and just get that data from your marketing provider and then cross-reference that with your list. Or what we do in our agency is we take that off the plate of our lawyers entirely. They will just send us a client list, and we go in and affix the data, the source and medium data onto those clients. And so we actually do all of that reconciliation for them. I think that good agencies will do this, and so really takes a lot of the frustration and time off of your plate trying to go track all these people down, because we have we know where they came from, we have their email, we have their phone number, and then we have a source and medium along with it. And so our clients who get the best results and really feel like they're getting the most value are those ones who give us that baseline of information as CRM export or just a list that they'll share with us on a monthly basis. And then the final part of this is just the like a quarterly or bi-monthly type of strategy adjustment process. And so you may not get a huge amount of insight from one single month. And going back to a point I made earlier, you may see from one month to the next that there's some sort of movement, right, where you go from 10 to 12 leads on one channel. You can't really get a lot of good insight from that. But if you see over 3 months that your leads are consistently falling off on a channel or they're growing, that's really what you want to look for, those like 60-day, 90-day type of trends. And then at that quarter or that 6-month period, you can really take stock of all of this stuff that you then figured out and make it actionable, and connect the marketing to your business outcomes and make decisions based on that. All right, so we talked about a lot today, all built around how you can have a good relationship with your marketing agency by having a clear view of ROI. To me, this is like the most misunderstood and underutilized piece of the marketing ecosystem. We just see it over and over again where folks coming into us are not doing this right, or they're not doing it at all. So take a minute, focus on it, and I promise that by going through this process, you will find your way into a much, much better relationship with your marketing, and ultimately it's going to be able to help you drive a lot more revenue, which is what it's all about, growing your law firm and getting you to your financial goals. That's it for today. I super appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. I know you have tons of options, and there's about 1,000,001 other marketing agencies out there, so thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you have any questions about this, give me a shout, Patrick at goconstellation.com, or reach out to us on our website, goconstellation.com. We have a very soft sell process. Happy to cover this stuff because I'm a big marketing nerd without a big heavy sales pitch. So reach out, please, and happy to help. That's it. Thanks. Have a great day.